Hello ladies and gentlemen, Central here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day as always. Before I get too far into the video, I just want to ask that you please take the time to like, and when you're done watching the video, leave me a comment as well. That will help me avoid any issues with the algorithm. What I'm doing in today's video is replacing the polymer brake lines that came with the airplane with metal brake lines. This is something that the previous owner had planned to do, but simply hadn't gotten around to it. First step, obviously, is going to be the removal of the polymer lines. So I am removing the fitting here first on the brake caliper. So while I'm doing that, let me discuss why I'm replacing the brake lines. I intend to have this airplane buttoned up pretty tight, and the last thing I want is to have a failure of a brake line and have to go back and replace it. Now, any kind of line can fail. However, polymer, in my opinion, would be more prone to it as it ages. The polymer would be exposed to the elements, to the increases and decreases in temperature, the increases and decreases in pressure as you climb and descend. It's got a higher chance of failure, so why not go ahead and replace them with an aluminum metal line which has less chance of failure. After all, once this is all buttoned up, it's going to be a real pain to get back in here and replace this stuff. And it's not just a matter of inconvenience if I have to go in and do maintenance work. It's a safety issue as well. In my opinion, the aluminum brake lines are going to be safer than the polymer, because if you have polymer lines in and you have a failure and you have to land for any reason on a short field without brakes, you run the risk of running off the end of the runway. This is true with any aircraft, but it's especially true with a tailwheel plane like this one. Brakes are critical for handling on the ground. So with the polymer out of the way, I went ahead and started installing the aluminum brake line. This was the trickiest part here, getting around this bend and getting through that rib going into the aircraft. Had to kind of fish it around and continue to make a slight bend on the aluminum pipe until I could get it to go through the hole and into the fuselage. Next thing I decided to do is work on the master cylinder, so that involved detaching the rudder pedal so I could get access. And then, of course, I needed to remove the fixture that was on the brake pedal itself and go and install the new fitting, which would fit the aluminum lines. I had a couple of different fittings that I used, one that was straight, one that was at a 45-degree angle. So the straight one I'm putting in here at the master cylinder, and I'll be putting the 45-degree angle fitting at the brake caliper itself. Had to reverse things on the other side just due to the geometry, but yeah, I'll have the part numbers for all this stuff displayed on the screen so you can see what's what, but I'm going to be putting this straight fitting in here on the master cylinder, and we'll be putting a flexible line between the master cylinder and the first bulkhead going back. Now I am using an adjustable wrench here. I really should have gotten one of my open box end wrenches, and that would have made things a little bit easier. However, I didn't feel like dragging all that stuff out to my hanger, so I just used one of my adjustable wrenches. Now, it is a very tight space, so the reason I'm not getting much movement here on the wrench is because I'm working around a camera and in a tight space. So this is the bulkhead fitting. And these grommets were already in the airplane, which made things nice. It fit that grommet very nicely, and I was just able to nut off the other side of that fitting. And you can see the flexible brake line already in place there. Once I get that fitting installed, I'll put that in, and that will connect the brake master cylinder to this bulkhead. So there we go. You can see the flexible line, and that attaches there on the bulkhead fitting. Back at the brake caliper, you can see I'm putting in the 45-degree angle fitting. And like I said, just had to reverse that for the pilot side just due to the geometry of the master cylinder and the pedals. was a little bit of interference using the straight fitting there, so I had to use the 45 in that position. Next up was getting the flare on the brake line, and in this particular video clip, I'm not sure if this one failed or if this was a good one, I can't remember, but I did have to several times cut the line and redo these fittings. I don't know if it was the tool I was using just because it was old, or whether it was my technique, or maybe a little combination of the two. Maybe it was even the materials being used. The aluminum brake line was reasonably flexible, and the alloy of aluminum being used was good for the purpose of a brake line. However, it did have a tendency to crack. As a result, I had to redo several of the flares as I was going through and doing the flares for the brake line. I had to make 4 in total, 2 on each side, but I was successful in the end. And here we have the finished result. Now the brake line is going to be enclosed. I do plan on making a fairing to go around the gear leg. But as you can see, it attaches to the caliper, runs up the gear leg into the fuselage through that rib, and then from there it's going to hit that bulkhead fitting, goes from there to the flexible line, and from there to the master cylinder. It was an additional expense and a bit of time now, but I think that's going to save me in the future. And again, I did both sides basically the same way, with the only difference being the position of the fittings. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for future updates on the build. I will be again restarting my Patreon next month, so if you're interested in supporting the project, please see the video in the pinned comment below. Thank you.